Hey Hardies, I'm Casey.
And I'm Cammie. Welcome to the Hardies Hotline,
your connection to Hope Valley.
We want to give a shout out to our friends at Edify Films, where you can get fabulous When Calls the Heart merchandise, like my hat.
And you can also get a fun When Calls the Heart game from our friends at the Bundle Game. Be sure to use discount code Hardies Hotline for 10% off.
We've got a fabulous episode for you today, full of laughter, tears, and heart.
So take a walk with us to Hope Valley and let's dive in.
Hey Hardies! Whew! I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit flabbergasted after Sunday's episode. Well, let's not jump ahead of ourselves. I am Cammie, the Hooked Hardie, and we have Casey with us, of course.
Hello. I feel like I was going up a roller coaster this time. We got to the top and then they showed the previews and it was like, woo!
And many of you may recognize our special guest host today. She is our dear friend from Deliver Me, a podcast that we cover for Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Please welcome Jess Bossy.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining your favorite Hardies.
Always.
I would just like to say I got her to start watching.
That is true. That is true. The credit goes to Cammie.
All right.
We're all wearing red.
Yes, we are.
I was intentional.
We didn't even plan that.
This is my only red shirt. It's besides like a Thanksgiving shirt. So it was either a turkey or this.
I think I prefer this. We're gonna do this a tiny bit differently. First of all, I'm going to read off the questions that were raised in my head from watching this episode, because I firmly believe that this was an episode that is supposed to leave us unsettled, and it worked. It didn't have any particular shock value, except for the fact that the explosion wasn't the focal point. I was a little surprised at that, but nothing huge like the declaration of love happened. There wasn't anything really, really big happening, and I think we were all kind of gearing up for something big. And so this one, I think, was left with a bunch of unsettled Hardies, but I think that's what it's supposed to do. And I think that it raises a whole lot of questions in our minds. So I'm just going to read off these questions. If you ladies have answers for them, you're welcome to answer them. But I just want to read these off. So, number 1, why does Rosemary want to give up the dress shop? Number 2.
Oh, I feel like she's unfulfilled.
Okay.
I mean, based on when we talked to Pascal, she was saying, because we said, what's one thing that you think she should do in the future? She said motherhood. Then she said, I really don't think Rosemary has found that passion since her theater days. And so I think that it was fun because Rosemary loves the new and the grandiose things of life. Yeah. But once it gets into a pattern, I feel like once she's settled, she's kind of like, this wasn't really what I was envisioning. Like, I love doing this, and I love being with Clara, and I love fashion, but it's not my passion. And I think that she's still uncovering that.
She's still trying to find herself, which is
interesting.
Which is very interesting for a woman who is so settled in the story, so settled in the town. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, number 2, what would have happened if Elizabeth hadn't ridden off?
I kind of wondered that too. I'm like, what are you implying? Are you implying there may have been, I don't know, a kiss or something?
Yeah, it's true. All right, number 3, what's the axe to grind between Nathan and Superintendent Hargrave?
That one I don't think we'll have an answer to until next week.
I'm certain of it. I'm wondering how long it's going to take us to get that to get that resolution.
Mhm.
But there's history. There is history there, and I mean, when he was bringing Nathan the news, it was, I mean, there was a chill. Elsa came in and blew some air into Hope Valley right there.
He's gonna need to let it go. But
Man, but I mean, when Nathan said there was an investigation, the case is closed, sir. I'm like, there's something. There's something going on.
And why reopen it a year later?
Well, I don't think it's a year because it's springtime and that was in the autumn. So it's last year, but it hasn't quite been a year.
Time is irrelevant in Hope Valley.
I know, time is completely irrelevant, but it hasn't been a year. So
regardless, it was still many, many, many months ago and the case was closed. And why are we bringing it up now? That's my point.
That is, and Bill even said, this is highly unusual. He said that to Elizabeth when he was talking to Nathan. He said, this can't be right. There is something seriously wrong in Bill's mind. And but Nathan's not talking. Andrew's not talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's like basically the equivalent of today's internal affairs. They're insinuating that there was some sort of misconduct. So
yeah, okay, let's pause here for a minute and let's go there. Bill was there. Like he said, he was 10 feet away. He saw what happened. He saw that Nathan did everything he could to talk the sister down. Elias's sister. And he didn't pull out a gun. The trigger happy and very nervous Mountie pulled out the gun.
Yep. And Bill said, no, don't.
Bill said, no, don't. Yes. Nathan reached for the gun. We all thought that he got shot because he was pulling the gun away from her. Yes, Andrew Hargraves wasn't there, but Bill was. And Bill was Andrew's mentor. Why on earth would they reopen this case just because a Mountie lost his life? A Mountie loses his life a lot in the line of duty, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's a real good reason. I think it's just he has a vendetta and he saw an opportunity. I don't think there's a real legitimate reason.
No, I don't think there is a legitimate reason. And for him to put Nathan's career on the line just to settle a score.
This better be a pretty good, interesting backstory to really warrant this.
Yeah,
there better be a good... I have a feeling that there will be. I have a feeling that there will be a good backstory. I hope that my feeling is correct.
It has to be connected to Fort Clay. Like all of this has to be connected to Fort Clay.
Can I just say I called it? But anyway, that's next week. That's next week. But another thought that I had is, what if this inquiry, because Andrew says your career as a Mountie is at stake, is this the out that Nathan needs to resign from the Mounties?
You know, that crossed my mind, but this is not the way that Nathan needs to go out.
That's what I thought too. Jess, what about you?
Yeah, it crossed my mind as well. I'm like, oh, well, maybe this is like the opportunity. So I didn't think much of it beyond that, but
I thought this is a way for him to get out, but there is no way that Nathan is going to let a stain on his name remain.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, I did a lot of rhyming right there. But I mean, he's going to fight this, and he's not just going to roll over and play dead, because he knows that he did, despite the doubts in his mind, he knows he did everything he could, and Bill is not going to let him throw in the towel.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. He needs Bill, because you can see Nathan is having. I mean, I think anyone in that kind of high pressure situation, like, well, what was there something else I could have done? Could I have done something differently and avoided this? And so he needs Bill to be like, no, I was there. You were fine.
Yeah.
You did what you followed the book.
That
in the story.
That was question number 4. Is this inquiry the means to resign from the Mountie? So we'll go on. Number 5. Should Lucas shave the beard? And
Well, I got some answers for y'all.
I know.
I got some answers for y'all.
Read the results of the poll, please.
Okay, so it is Monday morning, and the poll is at, let's look it up here on Twitter. All right. And I put this out there for kicks and giggles, but the real question of last night's episode is, should Lucas shave the beard? We have 3 teams, team clean shaven, team full beard, and team trimmed up. We have 76 votes as of 10:22 Central Time. And that would be 18% say team clean shaven, 7%.
Sorry.
7% say team full beard, and 75% say team trimmed up. So there you go, parties.
Okay, you have my vote. Casey, what's your vote?
For Chris McNally, I say trim.
Okay.
Trim. Yep.
All right, let me clarify something. I am all for clean shaven. I love clean shaven. I'm not a fan of beards. However, so I did put team clean shaven. However, for Chris McNally and for the character that he plays, I think a trimmed beard is very, very fitting. So I won't be too upset if he doesn't shave it off. I just thought it was a very interesting story point. And it was also incredibly good storytelling, because when he showed up in episode 1 at Elizabeth's door, his beard was very, very full. It was really, you could tell there was a ton of growth there. And in this episode, his hair is more the way we've seen it in the past. His beard is very trim and close to the face. And he says it had gotten quite full. I said, well, this is good. This is good storytelling. But I just thought it was so interesting. Fiona says, if you want to shave it off, I know just the gal. Faith said it would be nice to see what's hiding under there. Lucas says, I'll think about it. And he asks Faith, should I shave it all off? It reminds me of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. The pastor comes in to get his beard shaved. And Jake says, all right, who is she? And he goes, what? And so, anytime a man shaves off his beard, it's for a woman. Who is she? So is he considering doing this for Elizabeth? Because this is prior to his very sad knowledge. Yeah.
All I know is that I wrote in my notes, please don't shave Lucas. please don't. Please.
For the sake of the character, I do agree with you. I think that it adds to the refined.
It's just very fitting for Lucas. I mean,
All right. What was in the letter that changed Henry's mind about going back to the oil company?
I paused here. The letter is from Christopher.
Well, yeah.
It is from Christopher.
Yeah.
We still don't know what the relation is. We see Henry has he lit up, and I believe Christopher is in Cape Fullerton. I believe that's what the envelope said. So he's not too far away.
I couldn't read it, so
yeah.
If you say so.
Yep. So I don't know. We do know Christopher comes to town though. Yeah. But does Gowan bring him to town? Or does he just show up?
Another good question.
And we know that Christopher is a young guy. Because there were some questions about Christopher and his relationship to the show, and somebody had asked if it was Lucas's father coming to town, and I was like, no. We know for sure that it's definitely not. We know that it's a younger guy.
Younger than Lucas.
So.
All right. Number 7. Why is Lee all of a sudden going through a midlife crisis of thinking about his legacy and how he doesn't make anything, he just sells wood? I thought that was, he and Rosemary are kind of going through their own little rough patches, and oddly enough, at least on the outside, it doesn't involve children, because that's kind of been the rough patch. But now they both seem to be going through some very drastic, life-changing choices. You know,
I wonder if it's still kind of related to that, though. Like if they're feeling like their dream of a family isn't being realized, or looking for, what about the rest of my life? Or if I can't leave the legacy of my children as a father, then what is my legacy? And so then maybe that is kind of leading to that line of thinking.
That's kind of the same thought I had.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Jess. I think it's the fact that they're both in their, we're gonna be generous, late 30s, early 40s, and by that point, I'm sure that they thought when they were younger, Lee was probably like, I'm gonna get a really grand business and be like this timber tycoon out here, and then I'll settle down, and then we'll have a family. I'll have 5 kids and a white picket fence and a dog and a cat and a beautiful wife, etc. Wee ones. And I think Rosemary too, I think once she settled down with Lee, we all know that she said that, do you know what's in those diapers? And was very put off by children. But I think as she, developed into the Hope Valley woman and was Lee's wife, and, seeing baby Jack and all, being with all the kids, I think that desire for that family was coming. And now it's been 5 years since they've been married, no children. And now she's probably thinking like, this is not what I pictured. This is not what I planned. And now what? I think it's like that idea of everybody else around me is having babies, getting married, young love. I'm no longer a newlywed. I don't have any children. So what now? I don't have a theater either. So I think that's just a real struggle for them right now. I think it's a very real struggle, especially when you as a couple are just, nothing crazy is going on. You have those seasons where it's just everything's kind of calm, but sometimes you feel like things are missing.
It humdrum. You go through the same cycle every day and nothing ever changes. Oh yeah. Yes, I get it.
But can I just say, I love them.
Oh yeah.
I love them. I was a little weirded out by this weird chair, and I was like, Lee Coulter, you are a strange young man there. But because that chair is it made of gold?
That's a magical chair.
My laundry? Is it like what in the world? I mean, it was so weird, but I love that storyline for them because it brought a lot of levity and it showed their relationship and it showed them as deeper characters. And then Rosemary is making this, special area for Lee.
It was so sweet.
Remaking it because he turned it into this serene garden for her where they could have a date night every week. And now she has given it up, showing that she has truly become somebody who thinks of others.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it with Elizabeth and we've seen it with Lee, but this is just another example. And she has given up her special spot to be a workshop for her husband because he is feeling down that he does not create.
Yeah.
I mean, is there the sweeter love of a wife? I don't think so.
So sweet. Kevin did tweet last night and he said, inside scoop, after Rosie asks Lee to build her a spice rack, I improvise the line. Why? Are we going to heat things up? We thought it was genius, but it got cut. Such is life. So fun fact for you guys, Hardy.
That is so fun. I mean, I guess it's a little racy for Hope Valley, but I think that's sweet. I think it's cute. Well, and speaking of the person that Rosemary has become, I loved the way that Jesse brought back the past in season 2. Yes. Lee said you used to like to ride the back of a motorcycle. That was a long time ago, Jesse. I'm like, we remember that.
That made me laugh because I was like, Rosemary, girl, don't lie. Don't lie. You know you like riding that motorcycle. We saw you get all like, woo! On the back. I know.
Be pulled off by a rope.
But we really didn't get to see the two of them riding together. But in my imagination, because Jesse brings it up and says, well, Mr. Coulter says that you used to like riding that thing. I just imagine these two because they were so free. Their personalities were just Lee's very like go with the flow and very jovial, and then Rosemary's like, woo, well, fun and crazy and stuff. And I could just imagine them just riding the motorcycle for the heck of it to the next town
Union
over.
City.
Yes, Albert Falls for a picnic. Oh man.
And I mean, that was a tiny cliffhanger, but a cliffhanger nonetheless, that either the bike ran out of gas or something's wrong with this beloved motorcycle, and Jesse's got what looks like a long walk to Albert Falls or back to Hope Valley, and there's going to be some splaining to do.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Who told Lucas? Was it Mother?
Yeah.
I think so.
It's because he was meeting his mother for lunch at the saloon, and he was coming right out of the saloon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the only other person who knew was Rosemary, and she has learned her lesson, and she's not that close with Helen Bouchard. She kind of does her living of Helen Bouchard interactions through Elizabeth, right? Mm-hmm. So the only other person who could have told him, besides Rosemary, who wouldn't have done that, is Helen. And I was like, why? Why would you do that? Why would you put her in that spot?
I was trying to think of this conversation and how it would go. Like, this
is something This is something we need to ask Terrell Rothery. How did this conversation go in your head?
Like, hello, son. Yes, you could not reach father. Well, there is something I need to tell you. Your father left me. What? How could you not tell me that? Well, Well, I did tell Mrs. Thornton. What? You told Mrs. Thornton? I'm just, I don't know. I mean, I'm not that kind of person to throw somebody else under the bus like that, especially when it comes to like my own faults. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because there was no reason she needed to mention that Elizabeth knew.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm saying. What does it profit her? And then it wasn't addressed. When she comes to the house later to talk to Elizabeth, they don't say anything. Elizabeth kind of gives her this pointed, uncomfortable look and then asks her in, but they don't mention it at all. She just says, this is the only way I know how to be. That's all Helen says that could possibly take us back to that conversation. But I'm just like, there's no apology. There's no confession. It was me. There's nothing.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, Helen Bouchard is not the type of person to be like that.
No.
The Bouchards are very much, they do the whole, like, I'm exchanging looks with you and I'm telling you this. And underneath all of that, I'm actually very sorry that I threw you under the bus. I'm not going to apologize because I'm very uncomfortable in this moment. I can't be vulnerable because she says that she has a trouble being vulnerable with people, and that she has trouble not putting, like, she's always lived under this facade. So I think her going to Elizabeth at her house is her way of apologizing. Now, is that something that other, like, I mean, I don't know. I think that's just how she is. I think
she
that
did
was
say,
her
didn't
apology.
she, that I shouldn't have put you in that position. She said something along those lines. That
She said I shouldn't have put you in that position of discomfort. I shouldn't have put you in that position of telling you. I shouldn't have done that. That's what she says. She doesn't say anything about spilling the beans to Lucas.
Well, I mean, I don't think she feels like she has to. I think she thinks that's all under an umbrella.
Yeah,
I want another umbrella.
It's an all-inclusive apology.
I want another umbrella because that did not make sense.
I mean, some families are just like that. Like, my family was not like that. Like, we would, if there was an issue, I mean, not that this is like the healthiest way to deal with things, to be honest, but there was no apology issued. It was just like, we just knew things were forgiven and things were moved past. Like I said, that's not the healthiest way. So if you're a therapist or anything, like, don't come at me. We already know, but
Casey, we need to talk about your family dynamics.
I mean, it's a culture thing. I mean, for us, it's a culture thing, but I digress. What's the next question, Cammie?
Oh, the next question.
Because I have a question on this.
Oh, okay, go for it.
We need to clarify who made the Mountie toy.
That was the next question. Who made the toys? They just say a friend.
A friend.
Elizabeth just says a friend, and you know, there's the whole a Mountie toy. Is that Constable Grant? A Mountie? My late husband. And then you could just see Helen go foot in mouth.
Technically, she says she does not ask, is it? She just says Constable Grant. But that's where the confusion is, because some like, I was looking on Twitter, and I was noticing some people had questions about who made it and why did she answer Helen? Jack. But my thing is, I think Helen was actually asking a double-sided question, in that when Elizabeth said a friend made the toy or whatever, all she says is Constable Grant. So her double-sided question is, Constable Grant, did he make the toy, and is that of him? Elizabeth only answered half that question, which is, it's actually my husband is a Mountie. Because Jack Sr. would not have made the toys.
No,
she would have said,
made the toys.
Right, because she would have said, my late husband made these for little Jack. That's just a clarifying point. Like
I said, this episode raised so many questions that the last one is just for fun. How did they get whichever twin was playing Jack? How did they get him to hug Terrell Rothery? You know, that's just a fun question.
A bribe. She had M&Ms in her pocket.
Well, I'm wondering if they said something, because, you know, I'm a mom. I do this kind of thing all the time. Oh, she's sad. Can you give her loves? You know, that might have.
She was sad, you know.
She was, yeah. Terrell's a very good actress, and you know, she can definitely put on the sad face. And,
She really did for that scene. I thought she rocked it, like playing those emotions.
Can I say one more thing about Terrell Rothery?
Yes, please.
Okay, so now that we don't have Abigail in town, I would not be mad if Helen became a regular visitor of Hope Valley, because I just love her. I wasn't sure. I was kind of like, ooh, this lady, like, And then I think just that, you know, we see her come off the stage, and then it's the next episode where we just start unveiling these layers to her. And I'm just like, I like you. You are a complicated lady. And I really like that for character. So can you please come back? Like, don't be like Jack's mom and just disappear into, what is it, Aveeno commercials or whatever. Like, Terrell Rothery, come back to Hope Valley.
And she has plenty of reason to be there with her son and helping Elizabeth with the manuscript.
Yeah.
Very, very easy to keep her in there.
All right, so let's go to Lucas and his anger. Let's just jump in.
Let's just go there.
Let's just go there. So, why didn't you tell me? You knew my father left my mother, yet you didn't tell me in case I might have helped. See, I think that's the biggest thing that he's angry about, is if he had known, he could have done something. At least in his mind.
Yeah.
His world has been shaken. There are a lot of worlds that have been shaken in this episode.
Yes. And I think one thing we kind of forget is how much Lucas loved his parents' relationship. I mean, that's something
Going there next, so go on.
I mean, I think that's something even I kind of forgot, but this just made it come to light how deeply it just really means to Lucas. I mean, that's just a very hard thing to just suddenly lose, especially as an adult. I think that there were a lot of things that Lucas should not have said, but I like the fact that they put it in there because they made him, that was just another way to go deeper into who he is and what makes him tick and where his brain is at. He was definitely irrational, because if the tables were turned, he totally would not have told Elizabeth.
Oh, gosh, no.
Like, nobody would. I mean, if you were put in that situation, would you be the one to break the news to your friend that, hey, your parents are split? Like, no. But I mean, I just felt really bad for him in that moment, because when you are so angry like that, and we have those emotions, and when you have this loss, you're clouded, you're just lost. And so in a sense, I kind of don't blame him for lashing out, even though it was totally wrong. I felt bad for him in that moment, for sure.
Chris McNally tweeted out, cruel or justified? And I answered and I said, cruel. Understandable, because he's in pain and he's lashing out, but cruel nonetheless.
But I think that was in reference to him saying
the last scene.
Oh, but that's where we're going.
Okay.
We're not there yet, though.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Yes, but I think in both cases, he did not need to say what he did. I thought he was being cruel, but he was lashing out because he was in pain. And go ahead, Jess.
I was going to say, I would definitely be more understanding of that line of thinking for the first time, because he had just learned it, and in his mind, his parents were splitting, and he was like so emotional. I don't agree as so much for the second encounter, but I can definitely see the first, because he had just learned that, and he was, like Casey said, he wasn't really thinking straight at that point. And he felt a little hurt too that he hadn't been, like, she knew and he didn't. But at the same time, like, once it sat with him, I think he would have realized, like, okay, yeah, like you said, I wouldn't have done it if the tables were turned, or it was honorable that Elizabeth kept her word to my mother, and it really wasn't fair that she was there to begin with.
Right. I think the other thing that we are forgetting is that Lucas is human. And, we talk a lot about how the triangle is a struggle for Elizabeth. But last week we saw what a struggle it is for Nathan, because he has declared his feelings. He knows he is in love with her. And this is wearing on Lucas too, you can tell. Number one, because even though he has not declared it, I fully believe that if he is not in love with her, his feelings are incredibly strong and incredibly deep. And he's getting tired of being tossed and turned with the wind. And number two, he based his affections for Elizabeth and the way he was wooing her on his parents. And now his world is completely shaken. And does he even think that he can be in love with her anymore? You know,
that was definitely a thought I had, was like, what does this mean for Lucas and how he defines love? And I think there's kind of a nugget there with what the show defines love as, is when Lee talks to Jesse in the very first episode. Love is an action. Love is a choice. Love is not these warm, fuzzy feelings and, you know, what fiction depicts it as. It's a work in progress. I think sometimes we get caught up in the notion of love and the notion of, like, you know, romance and love. It's a choice that you make every day to be self-sacrificing for the people that mean the most to you. You know, and I think it's just one of those things where I think Lucas is going to have to really step back and think, you know, what is his definition of love, especially when it comes to Elizabeth.
Yeah, and from what we can gather, what Helen said about her child rearing is, she said that she found it very difficult and that she didn't take joy in child rearing the way Elizabeth does, which leads me to believe that she kind of raised him from a distance.
And we already kind of knew that too, because he had mentioned about the reading thing, the comment he made about, you know, the rest was up to him kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, Lucas had his parents up on this pedestal, like the king and queen of a fantasy world. He saw the fancy ball gowns, and he saw the refined manner, and he saw what he thought looked like true love. And so the big thing about the end with Lucas is that I can understand that he is trying to process this. He's a human being. He's just getting tired of it all. Plus, now the straw that broke the camel's back is he's finding out that there's trouble in paradise with his parents. Go ahead.
My question, now you probably have this written down. The last thing he says to Elizabeth before she says that was cruel.
Go ahead.
What exactly does he say? Did you write that down?
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
So she says, love has to be fought for, and maybe she had to be the one to reach out first. And Lucas says, what would you know about it?
Okay, my question is he saying, what would you know about it, as in his parents' relationship? Was he talking about, what do you know about fighting for true love? Was he talking about, like, the fact that she has been, quote unquote, stringing him and Nathan along and he's tired of it? Is it all of the above? I was trying to figure out the ambiguous pronoun it during this. And so, because there are a lot of feelings and there are a lot of questions about this out on social media about.
Here's another question that has been raised.
Yeah, I watched it more than once, and I definitely saw it differently, like the second time than I did the first time. The second time, I think where I kind of landed is I feel like it is what his reference to when she said maybe she had to be the one to reach out first. And that was him saying.
That's what I thought. Yes, on my second time through. Please go on. Yes. That
Elizabeth needed to be the one, you know, what would she know about it? Because she hasn't been reaching out. You know, it's all been about him and Nathan reaching out, which I get his point. But I think it is a little unfair because Elizabeth wasn't looking for love, you know, and she's kind of been put in this position now where she has two suitors that she really cares about. And she's struggling with it.
A son.
Right. And I'm like, I don't know if it's fair she's even in the position where she's ready to reach out, you know? So, but I mean, yeah, that's where I landed.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know Jess as well as we do, she is not a romantic. So
I'm
this
not.
is very profound coming from her.
Incredibly profound coming from her.
Yeah. I guess that would make sense. And again, I think it's just Lucas just laying everything out on the table in maybe not the best way, but I feel bad for, I think I feel bad for everybody right now.
Everyone's just in a bad situation.
I mean,
I have a question though. Maybe you guys can shed some insight. I think maybe what confused me most about the scene with Lucas is why is he, I understand that he's kind of upset about everything that has transpired, but he just learned that his parents are like getting back together and that Elizabeth was the catalyst for it. So, I mean, I still understand like he put them on this pedestal, which is obvious. It's not healthy to put any relationship to idolize it in that manner, as we can see. But he had just learned like two good things. One, that his parents are like going to work on it. And Elizabeth was the reasoning that happened.
He didn't find out that she was the reason. He said something must have happened.
But she had just told him, I'll say what I told your mother. And I feel like
but that was
maybe he didn't put the pieces together.
I'm wondering if he didn't put the pieces together but you are absolutely right in that he's saying that she is trying to reconcile with his father. Why is he not happier about that? My only thought would be that he sees a very long road ahead, because if father is gone, then trying to reconcile is a very unsure tunnel, and there's not really a light at the end that he can see. That's my thought.
That makes sense. I can kind of see that.
Yeah. I thought the ending was also very interesting. Because it was like a visual triangle.
That was the only interaction that Nathan and Elizabeth had the entire episode, which I think is good in a way, because she was panicked to see him. He had this "I'm still here" look on his face, and she got panicked and awkward, and then she looks over and she sees Lucas, and she is definitely caught in the middle.
For me, I felt like that scene just made I think it's going to come to a head very, very soon. I really do.
It has to.
Because the other thing too is with that whole scene with the legitimate physical triangle with Elizabeth at the point, and then she sees Nathan on the left and Lucas on the right. Lucas is going into the saloon and he turns. So he's seeing her look at him. And I'm not going to lie, the look on his face, I felt really bad for him, because not only now is he's mad at Elizabeth because of the whole parental situation, he has kind of, in a sense, kind of lashed out at her, which, I get that he was just putting his feelings out there, which I think we need more of. I think we need to see more of Lucas in a more natural, deeper state. But I couldn't help but feel bad, because like that's like a punch in the gut to see the woman that you're falling in love with look at another dude. And it just makes it all more real for him to know that he could possibly be losing her. I mean, to Nathan, even though he may not know what has actually transpired between Nathan and Elizabeth. So then there's also that layer. Elizabeth looks like she's a deer caught in the headlights. And
she really does.
I mean, and then she exits left. I mean, I was like, this is about to implode very, very soon. And to be honest with you, I really hope they wrap this up around episode 6 or 7, because I don't know if I can take it much longer. I'm kind of ready for Elizabeth to be in love. And I'm actually
be
more
in
so,
love, not have to choose.
And here more so, I'm more ready for the guys to find love, the right person to be in a relationship
it's hard
with.
on them. Kind of like we said, we see it with Lucas a lot. We saw it with Nathan at the end last week. It's hard on them.
And I think we forget that too. I think we're so focused on Elizabeth and the whole like Team Nathan, Team Lucas. But what about What about Lucas and his love life? And what about Nathan and his love life? Like, I want them to both be happy in this episode. The season is just making me sad. For the guys, not even really for Elizabeth. It's really for the guys. I just, I'm kind of like, if I were single, I would be like, I take one of you. It's fine. Whoever Elizabeth doesn't take, that's fine. Y'all both good looking with great jobs. I know I don't live in 1918, but we can create a character.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about a man who is very happy right now, Mr. Ned Yost.
Fly in the house.
I gotta say, I was watching this with Cammie, and at the end, we were talking about Cammie makes her list of Team Nathan and Team Lucas and makes the points. And I'm like, you should just forget the guys in this one, give all the points to Ned because he was the best in this episode. Okay, I'm not a romantic. We just talked about that. My little romantic heart got a little fluttery with his and Florence's little interaction.
Oh my!
At the mercantile. I was like, whoa.
That's a lot for you.
And it was just a little hand action, just a little hand action.
I know.
And I heard how gallant you were.
Because he didn't give her the flowers. Henry did.
That was the other thing.
Wait, oh my gosh, those aren't from Ned. They're from Henry. Now, I don't think that Henry has anything romantic towards Florence. I think that was simply an apology. He was being kind and gentlemanly. It's the first time Florence has ever called him Henry. It's always been Mr. Gowan. And it's the first time that she's ever called him Henry, and it just took her completely back.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just so funny because Ned says, I was the one that he was being accusatory to, but I defended you. Yes, you did. It's just that sweet. Yes, you did.
Mm-hmm. And he has just like this adorable little smile. He's just so cute.
I know. He's so sweet. And when she's telling everybody his story and how he
and the others
charged into the raging inferno.
Charged into the raging inferno. Oh my gosh.
Like, Florence, yeah, you tell it like it was. Yep.
And can we talk about the fact that she is getting him a beehive for his birthday?
But it's to make honey so then he can make more money.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just think it's like
she knows her man.
He apparently does because we've never heard anything about a beehive. And then, of course, we have Molly. I took a cue from you and got Bill something for his birthday.
I thought Florence was gonna spit her tea. I thought she was gonna do a spit take because the way she just was like, they're looking at the guys outside, and she just casually mentions, "I think I'm gonna get something for Bill," and she's like.
No. She almost spit her tea when Molly said he doesn't have a wife.
Well, that too.
That was because she says, I don't know, Molly. He seems to have everything a man could want. And then right there, Molly says he doesn't have a wife. And then, kidding. Seriously, I'm kidding.
Yeah, sure you are, Molly. Sure you are, Molly.
Sure, Molly.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Really quick, can we jump back to Gowan really fast for a split second? Yep. One thing that struck me about his apologies, the fact that he has known Ned and Florence since day one. We've known them, the three of them, since day one, and they've never really had an interaction like that ever. In 8 years. We've never seen that. Nope. And I love that they were tying that back together. Mm-hmm. And I love that we see that 180 shift again in Henry, because he would have never apologized back in season 1. And
oh gosh, no.
He was very humble, and he was very real with them. And I love that he even took the extra step to bring them flowers too, because he could have just said, I'm sorry, and then left. I think that makes a big statement for me about Henry.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move very quickly to my last question. I forgot to write it down, but what's going on with Faith and Carson? Oh my gosh. I mean, we thought that the explosion was going to be the focal point of this episode, and it wasn't like we thought, but there are a lot of explosions happening around town. I think it's more of a metaphor. Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, 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 boom. I mean, Faith is having, and he says, we are in no shape to discuss this right now. And she says, please, we need to get past this. And I don't even know what this is. I remember Lydia, my 6-year-old, was watching with me this morning, and she said, but Mommy, they love each other. And it's like, even people who love each other argue sometimes, honey. And it's true that he is disregarding her because he doesn't quite see her as a full doctor yet, and he's not giving her full he's not giving her his full attention, and so he kind of still assumes the position of the doctor, I think.
But
and
she's not.
She is extra sensitive because of how she got treated in Chicago.
But she's also, is she an actual doctor, or she is just doing her, not internship, but
like
her
residency?
Yeah. So she's
not a full-blown doctor, but she probably technically has the title.
Right. But the thing is, the patients are still under Carson's care, technically.
Yeah.
So I think it's the delivery. And I think Faith might have gotten she might have gotten just a tad hurt. I don't know. I was a little
tad sensitive.
Yeah, maybe a little sensitive on it. I think Carson's delivery could have been a lot better. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not in that manner. I don't know.
She's using the experiences in Chicago and she's bringing them to Hope Valley. Yeah. And I think that made her extra angry.
Yeah. But, I think it's also the fact that she started to say, well, if you feel the tendon, and he was like, oh, just wrap him up. Like he
was very dismissive of her. And I think that was,
he disregarded her. Like I said.
Yeah.
Like I was totally on Faith's side. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Don't you dare. It's like, and I think too, it's like a big thing, like with women in science feeling overlooked, she's stepping into a man's role and feeling like she's been brushed off by not only just a man, but Carson, who's, he was
the one that encouraged her to go for her dreams and stuff. I wrote in my notes, Carson, bruh, do not mansplain here. Okay.
Yeah. No mansplaining.
No mansplaining.
Let's talk about the scene that came from that interaction for poor Fiona. Clara comes in and says, oh, maybe you can help Jesse. And then he's making all these decisions for our married life. Faith comes in. I need your advice. Carson and poor Fiona.
Fiona's like, yeah.
Fiona is at the point of another triangle. And then Fiona and Faith and Clara talk amongst themselves. And then I've got chocolate cake at the cafe. Let's go. Okay, you're welcome. Save me a piece. Poor Fiona. They just go in, use her as a sounding board, and then go get cake.
Job well done, Fiona.
Yes.
Way to solve that one.
Good job, Fiona. You're a great friend. All right, quickly, let's cover that explosion. Because that was a fireball. And we had poor Hickam with the burns all over his face. And you gotta love the follow-up scene. In the cafe, he's got the ointment in the background and he just keeps putting it on his face.
Yeah, poor guy.
But then he refuses a vacation And then Bill gives him free blueberry pancakes. It's Bill's way of recognizing how brave
Yeah.
he was.
I really need to stop watching all the extra sneak peeks because I think had I not seen the sneak peeks, I would have been a little more heightened for this episode. I really thought that the explosion was going to be like the thing.
Yes.
But
I
it
thought
wasn't.
there was going to be a line of people in the infirmary and they were going to be waiting to see how somebody was coming out of it or something.
So I really need to stop watching the sneak peeks. I do love that everybody came together, even Fiona and Nathan helping Lucas up, and like they were just working as a team to extinguish this gigantic fire at the derrick. I thought that was, for the story and for the cinematography and everything, and that was really great. It really was. And
this stuff with his brilliant idea of using the dynamite. I looked it up after because Cammie and I were talking about it. We're like, really using dynamite to
really happen?
And I Googled it and I read this whole Wikipedia article, and it was a very common way of putting out an oil fire. They say it's like blowing out a candle, like you're getting rid of all the oxygen. And like it had the same pictures of the oil shooting straight up, and I was like, wow, they really kind of nailed the accuracy on that one.
Yeah, actually,
something new
for forest fires too. Sometimes they will purposely start a controlled fire in order to extinguish the fire that's happening.
Interesting.
It's very counterintuitive, but yes, apparently it works.
Well, and then that leads Lucas to say, I don't agree with everything that you say, but I want you back. Henry saved their lives.
Yeah.
Henry saved their lives because he knew what to do. Oh, so, and this is very tiny, but I was under the impression that Nathan was going to do more of a save Lucas's life kind of thing, not just help him up. I thought it was going to pull him from the fire or rescue him somehow. But obviously that didn't happen. He literally did just help him up. But the fact that he helped him up, it was a tiny little thing, but it shows that Nathan is a Mountie and he is not going to let his personal feelings for Elizabeth and the fact that Lucas is his rival get in the way of making the town safe. He ran right up to him. He helped him up. Are you all right? No questions asked. He was part of the team that pushed the dynamite forward. I'm in. No doubt.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And Lucas too, his concern was his men. His concern was Hickam too. And I was like, this is, I'm really loving how they're they're developing these guys and their stories. And so we're seeing more from them. And I just have this hope that one day we will see a Luther, whatever you want to call their ship name, bromance.
They really are paving the way for them to become friends. They really are. If things go right and if things happen smoothly, smoothly is an interesting word, but if things come out smoothly, there really could be the potential for an amazing friendship between those two. And look at Rosemary and Elizabeth. Who would have ever thought when she showed up in those red pantaloons that 8 years later they would be the best of friends? So I totally think that there is a possibility for Lucas and Nathan to become best friends down the line.
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to let the fire die out on this episode.
How poetic.
How poetic. Just
I know.
buckle up your seatbelts for next week.
Oh, and about that preview, I said it once and I'll say it again. I called it. We called it. You said the same thing. We called it. Nathan was at Fort Clay. I cannot wait to see how this is going to play out.
Yeah, and that inquiry, I was really, really hoping it was going to be about Allie's dad some way, only because And not because like I had a feeling it was going to be one of those two things, but I was really hoping for the whole Allie dad thing because like that was too easy.
It was.
It was too easy.
I'm still hoping that Allie's dad is going to show up somewhere down the line.
It's got to come up. It's got to come up in the inquiry. I mean,
somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, this time we were going up the roller coaster. I have a feeling that we are going to go down another one next week.
Yep.
So be prepared. All right, Hearties, everybody, take a few deep breaths because you're going to need them.